Hey lovelies! So I had two dresses hanging around in my closet that I love the patterns of, but they had gotten too short over the years, so I decided to turn them into crop tops, and I'm going to show you how. I love this Picasso-esque glow-in-the-dark dress. I got it back when I used to work in bottle service. So I decided to turn it into a one-shoulder crop top. To crop the top, I just made a line on top of my belly button because that's where I like to crop my tops. And then from that line, I measure 1/2 inch below it so that I can create a seam allowance. This pattern is so fun. It reminds me of Edward Munch's The Screaming Face painting, and I just love it so much, so I couldn't let it go. So then I'm just eyeing out and then actually measuring to the exact center of my chest. There's a seam that I want to make the new seam that I'm creating meet in the middle. So I measured to the center of that chest area. And once again, I'm giving myself a 1/2 inch seam allowance so that I can fold the fabric down and create a nice finished hem. So then I'm just folding it over to make sure everything matches up and it looks good. And then I pin down my newly cut hem. And I do this at the front, at the back, and at the bottom of my new top. This is so fun because it does glow in the dark, like I mentioned. So one day when lockdown is over, hopefully, if it ever does end, I can wear this all night dancing somewhere fun. To hem the bottom, I make a slit that's 1/2 inch with my scissors so that I can fold the hem and create a seam allowance again. So then the top and the bottom on both sides are pinned. I like to pin because it helps me sew straight. And I decided to use a stretch stitch for this, which I don't really like. A stretch stitch does 2 stitches and then 1 stitch back. And I just found that maybe it was the thread that I was using, but it was very tight and it wasn't very easy to move my shirt as I was sewing. So I really had to put pressure on it and pull it. I think a regular zigzag stitch would be just as good. And this is the finished result. I love how you can switch sides, show off one shoulder, then show off the next. I absolutely love how it looks from the back, and I can't wait to wear this. It's so much fun. Next, so I have this cheetah dress. I got it from Australia, and it's cropped at the weirdest spot just above my knees. Not a fan. But I love cheetah. So I decided to crop it again at the exact same spot and create some ruffled sleeves. To create my sleeves, I'm measuring the top part of my arm where the sleeve will attach to the dress or to the top. And that was 11 inches. And then 3 inches below that, because I wanted the sleeve to be 3 inches long, I measure my arm as well. And it is 10 inches. I cut my shirt in the exact same spot as the first one. And then to make my sleeves, I'm measuring 3 inches wide by 11.5 inches long, remembering to give myself a seam allowance. And I did it by 11.5 inches, even though the elastic is going to be 2 different lengths. It's going to be 11 inches at the top of the sleeve and 10 inches at the bottom of the sleeve. I cut out that sleeve and then I pin it down and just cut the exact same shape so that both sleeves are exactly the same size. This summer 2020, if I'm going to be staying home, I'm going to be wearing the biggest, boldest, funnest prints, okay? It's still going to be a fashion summer, a hot girl summer for me. And so now I have 2 identical sleeves. And to create a casing, what I do is I put the elastic inside and wrap it so that I get the exact size of the elastic. And I just pin on top of the elastic, giving myself a little bit of space. And this way the casing can be nice and snug because I've done it to the exact measurement of the elastic. I use a lot of pins when I sew because I find it really helps me to sew straight and really helps me guide everything properly. So be generous with your pins, take the time, do it right. Then I take the elastic out and I have casing ready to go. And I just used a straight stitch and sewed along the pins. To get the elastic through, put a safety pin on one end. I've already done it on the top, as you can see. And so one elastic is 11 inches long for the top of my arm, one is 10 inches long, and this will just give my arm a little bit more room inside the sleeve. And so I'm just really pushing the pin through and pulling the fabric over very gently. You can pin down the other side of the elastic. That's the right thing to do because there's nothing more annoying than getting the elastic stuck inside the casing and having to rip seams to pull it out. But this was such a short sleeve that I just held on to one end of the elastic. When I got to the end, I pinned them together and just continued to ruffle the fabric over the elastic until it was covered, leaving space at the end because you sew the end of the elastic together, as I'll show you. So this is what my sleeve looks like. I have created a seam on the side and I'm going to sew the ends of the elastic together along with the seam in a straight stitch, making sure to back stitch over both ends of the elastic. The elastic, they need to be joined together in a lifelong marriage. You do not want them to come apart, so really sew the 2 ends of the elastic down together. And if you find that your ruffles are bunching up while you're sewing, just lift your presser foot and rearrange the fabric. Take your time, don't rush. You want this top to look good and to last forever. Backstitch, don't ever forget to backstitch unless you're creating a basting stitch, but we'll get into that another time. And this is my sleeve. It's so cute. I love it. I zoomed in way too much here, but what I'm showing is the side seam of my shirt. So I am going to sew together the side seam of the shirt and the seam that I just created of the sleeve. So I'm pinning them together And I'm going to sew right and left just to secure the top of my sleeve onto the shirt. I'm doing the same thing with the other side, of course, matching the seams and then sewing back and forth at the top to fasten them with a straight stitch. So this is what the top looks like pinned. And this is what it looks like sewed. I love this. I'm so happy with how it turned out. It is like a complete transformation from that weird length of a dress that it was before. I'm in love. I can't wait to wear this while I'm sitting on the couch all summer long because of this lockdown. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!